Hey guys, Nick Davies, your personal hypnotherapist and life coach and owner-director of the Warwickshire School of Hypnotherapy for all your training needs. And today we're going to talk about anger, and it was a conversation I had in the gym today with a couple of friends of mine. And we were talking about things like road rage, anger in relationships, anger with other people and why that happens. So I'm just going to talk about it briefly. It's a massive subject that we could go on about talking about for a long time, so I'm just going to snapshot some bullet points about it. So first of all, road rage. One of the reasons that people experience road rage is because we're kind of trapped in this metal kind of box that makes us feel safe. So unconsciously our minds recognise that we're surrounded by metal and glass, and that, you know, physically we're fairly safe from people. So it gives us a kind of false sense of security, really. And also we're distracted when we're driving. A lot of people tend to be focusing on other things rather than the driving. So what happens is we're in this safe metal box, and then somebody cuts us up or does something, and because we're thinking about other things, we have shock and surprise. And when we have shock and surprise, what happens? We default back to our natural reactions as if we're not in a great place. So so it's generally our kind of stress response comes out. So people generally will tend to do what they'll normally do. So when they're kind of pushed into a corner. So because normally we're driving in one direction, there's no way for us to kind of flee, and it's not an appropriate response. So what generally people tend to do is gesture, shout, scream, sometimes get out, sometimes have an altercation with the person, which is all very dangerous if you know the statistics on road rage and things like that, and it's not something that we should really be doing. So we kind of react to that. So what I would say with road rage, if that's something you suffer with and it's something that you want to change, is firstly, you need to be more present with your driving. So whenever you're driving somewhere, especially if you're stressed, and we'll come on to that in a second, but what I would say is be present in your driving. So think about the things you can see, the traffic around you, the things you can hear, the things you can feel, the steering wheel, the gear changes and everything else. The things that you can, and especially what you can hear, with other voices. As long as you've got that kind of awareness around you, you should be fine, and you'll get to your destination. There are, if you think about it, most people are driving in a trance and not really sure. So lots and lots of people make mistakes. So if you're aware and have yourself present in that moment, you'll get over that. The second thing I was going to come on to, which I just mentioned, is your level of stress. So your level of stress can go from a 0 right the way up to a 10. So if you're walking around in life and your level of stress is 0 and you're having a great time and everything's fun, and then somebody cuts you up and you're in trance, your instinct is to lightly go, well, I'm okay. Now, if somebody cuts you up badly and you think you're going to be in danger or have an accident or get killed, depending on, and this depends on your history of traumas and things like that, your response to that, even though you're a 0, can be very aggressive. So if you believe that you're in danger and that you're going to get hurt or injured naturally, and your history of that, you'll react. So that's why it's important to stay present. But the other thing to do is to make sure your stress levels are down here. Because I know very, women who wouldn't say boo to a goose, and even guys who wouldn't say boo to a goose, and when their stress levels are at 10, when they're in the car, they've said and behaved in ways that are quite shocking. So manage your stress levels, have an awareness of where you are between 0 and 10. I always know when my stress levels are too high and I'm getting tired, is I start to get backache, because I tend to lean over forward like this and become more absorbed in what I'm doing. So that's a good indicator for me that I'll sit back and think, right, I can chill out. Then I want to move on to the second thing we were talking about was anger in relationships. And what you do, when's the point when you decide enough is enough. So generally what anger is a breach or a breaking of somebody's rules. So it might be, I know women will say, oh, he's left wet towels on the floor, his clothes everywhere. I just want to make sure I don't do that. So it could be things like that. So it's broken those rules. So little rules like that are fine, and if you're telling people, that's okay. It's when the anger is projected for something that's concocted, or it's consistent, or it's happening again and again and again with no provocation, and the person is looking to express their anger. This is what we call psychological projection, and this is where you're in a friendship or a relationship where that person keeps projecting things to you on a regular basis. And if you watch my Salt and the Sieve video, Are You a Saucepan or a Sieve? Have a look for that video. these are people that generally, it doesn't matter what you do, they're never going to be happy because they haven't resolved their traumas from childhood, things that happened when they were growing up, anger they've got towards their mum or their dad, or situations that happened. So that's the importance to differentiate between those two. Are the rules that you're breaking or they're breaking that make you angry, are they justified, are they rational? And sometimes it's helpful to talk to a friend or a professional or something like that. But bear in mind that sometimes when people use psychological projection, is angry at you because they want you to feel the way they do. So it's normal for somebody who they're pulling you down, especially if it's about some of your qualities. So say they might be saying, right, it's all right, your job, you're this, that and the other, and you're not this. So if they start pulling you down about your personal things, what they're really doing is they're stripping away all of your confidence and all of your qualities, basically. And what they're really saying is, I'm stripping you all down so that you feel the vulnerable child like me. And anger, having been an angry young man myself when I was growing up, what I understood, it wasn't the anger you need to deal with. What I did to heal me was to deal with the vulnerable child. I developed this kind of tough character that was strong and used to box and be angry and could fight and everything else and argue with people in order to protect the real vulnerable child of me that got bullied at school, that was like, I'm not big enough, I'm not this, I'm not popular, blah blah blah. So what I did is I healed that character and what happened is the anger dissolved away. So I've covered that. The next thing I was going to cover is breathing. One of the best things to do with anger, if ever you feel it, anger normally starts out as frustration. So you might say, I'm not happy with this. This is making me feel a certain way. Now, biggest thing is for anger to explode, and in transactional analysis they call it saving up brown stamps. So what people do is they save a brown stamp. So you might go, oh, he's left his socks on the floor. Boom, there's a stamp in there. Oh, God, he ignored me then. Stamp in there. Oh, he's been rude. Oh, he's done this. Anyway, by the time you got a book of 12 stamps, or however many times it takes, you give yourself permission unconsciously to go and explode. But what happens is when you explode like that and you set the last stamp off, for you're saying there's 12 different things that you've done and you haven't even seen them or understood they've done them, rah. But because it's the last thing, and it might be because he left the telly on or she's left the telly on or whoever it is, when that goes, they only see the last thing. So they're like, wow, this is really disproportionate. This is completely out of proportion to what's going on. So that's what it shocks. So my advice with anger is, whenever you have an issue, and most of the things to do with anger are to do with the lack of communication. When two people are arguing about things, it's because they're not communicating effectively. And when I say communicating, you have to tell people about how you feel. And the secret with anger is not just telling people how you feel, but you have to have a speaker and a listener when you're communicating with somebody. If one person's not interested in listening, or he's got their arms folded, or is angry or whatever else, there's no point saying anything. It's like throwing mud at a wall and none of it will stick. So what I say is, when you're going to communicate with people, A, you need to make sure you're in a relaxed mood, and B, you need to make sure they're in a relaxed mood so they can receive the message. Now, that will come out of love and respect. So if two people, two friends, family members, people in a relationship love and respect each other, they will do that, but you've got to set time aside. Don't just think by saying, if you shout at someone and go, you always do that, that any of that's going to go in, because it doesn't. It just bounces off. It doesn't go into the unconscious mind, and that's what hypnosis is all about. Hypnosis, and I use a lot of eyes open hypnosis. I talk to people and use hypnotic language and suggestion to make people change in a normal conversation. It takes you a long time to get there. I've got a lot of experience in that, but it's having that ability to do that. But you can do that as long as you set the scene. Make sure that you're relaxed and ready to give the message, and they're relaxed and ready to receive the message. So coming back to breathing, excuse me, if you recognise that you're frustrated or angry, the best thing you can do is to breathe. There are different ways of breathing. One of the ways of breathing is diaphragmatic breathing. Do a Google search on it. But you basically breathe in so that your stomach pushes out. So you don't move your chest and shoulders up. So you push your stomach out, take the breath right down, you hold, and then breathe out. Breathe in, and then breathe out. And if you copy me now, you should feel yourself relaxing. And if you do this properly and your peripheral vision starts to blur, that's when you're changing your brain waves from beta waves to alpha waves, and you know that you're in eyes open hypnosis. And that's a nice way of very, very quickly, and I do this with my clients. Now another way of breathing that I learned from my friend's partner, Wendy Preston, who is very high up in the NHS. I think it's called 4 square breathing. But what they do, and I thought this was good, this is for patients with COPD, and they catch the breathing like this. I hope you won't mind me sharing this. But what they do is 4 square breathing, I think it's called. And basically they get something that's square, and then they breathe like this. So they breathe in, hold the breath as they're moving their fingers across this square object. Breathe out, and then pause. So if you can see with my hand, they're moving their fingers around this. So it's breathe in, hold, and then across. So you could use a book, a phone, or something like that. But that's a really good technique, because breathing changes your brain chemistry, and that's, you know, what can really affect us. And the reason I'm saying this, just quick tips for you not to, because I know myself, you know, and the other thing as well is one metaphor, as I say, is, you know, I've surrounded myself with people, you know, I'm quite a laid back character, and nothing really gets to me, but because I push myself hard, I train hard in the gym, I work hard at my job, is I've surrounded myself with people that just, there's a phrase, let sleeping dogs lie. And I say to people, look, if you're the type of character that's going to poke, sleeping dog, eventually the dog's going to go, ah, and bite your fingers. All right, so don't poke the sleeping. Let sleeping dogs lie. So that's another thing about, you know, when you surround yourself with people, sometimes there are some people that just want to project all their stuff onto you, make you feel that way. It's not healthy. You know, you need to distance yourself from those people. And one of the things I say to people is it's up to them to get their own therapy stuff done. You know, I've sat in so many therapy chairs, and I still do, because I work on all my stuff. But if the people in my life aren't prepared to work on their stuff, do you know what? There's no room for them, and I'll move them on. If people are, and they're getting help, and you know, I can forgive most things. So that's how I operate. But it's just some really great advice for you. You know, if you're suffering in anger in relationships, anger in road rage, you know, anger in life, stress levels and things like that. Firstly, learn to breathe. Secondly, check your levels of stress. And, you know, thirdly, just work on those things. Work on, you know, yourself. Go and get yourself a great coach, a great therapist who specialises in these things, and work on all those things. But, you know, my philosophy in life is be the best you can be. You know, we don't know how long we're here for in life. You know, life could end tomorrow. So I want to make sure I've got a phrase, make every day count. And that's what I try and do every day now, make every day count, you know, pushing myself with all my goals, so that when I go to bed at night, I can go, do you know what, it was another great day. You know, who knows where it will lead me, you know, I don't know, but I'm focused on what I want to achieve. But I'd rather know that, you know, whatever happens, I can turn around, look at myself in the mirror, which I did the other day, and say, I'm proud of you, you know, I'm really proud, you really put the effort in and you've done your best. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Love your feedback and comments. Please like, subscribe and share. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.